Little girl sees millionaire chained to a bridge about to fall. So she does this. Comment telling me what you thought of this story, giving it a score from 0 to 10, and comment what city you are watching me from. I really want to know if you liked my story, and I want to get to know you better. So subscribe to my channel to support my work. I count on your help. The sun had barely risen over the rolling hills of Oak Creek when a metallic clanking echoed across the old iron bridge spanning the Willow River. It was only 6 in the morning, and little Lily, just 4 years old, was already walking the streets with her tattered burlap sack, scavenging for aluminum cans to sell at Mr. Miller's scrapyard. This had been her routine every day since Grandma Grace passed away 3 months ago, leaving the girl in the care of their neighbor, Mrs. Higgins. Lily had wild brown curls that always escaped her messy braids, big, expressive eyes that reflected a determination unusual for her age, and a stubborn streak known throughout the neighborhood. Once she set her mind to something, nothing in the world could stop her. It was this same stubbornness that drove her out every morning to work, despite being so small. That morning, as she walked toward the town center, a desperate scream pierced the morning air. Lily stopped, frowning. The sound was coming from the direction of the old bridge, the one Grandma Grace always warned her to stay away from because it was dilapidated. But the girl's curiosity was stronger than any warning. She ran toward the sound, her worn-out sandals slapping against the dirt road. When she reached the bridge, what she saw left her jaw dropped. An elegant man, wearing a suit and tie, was chained by his wrists to the iron beams of the bridge. He was dangling dangerously over the river, screaming for help in desperation. "Help! Someone help me!" the man yelled, struggling against the chains holding him. Lily looked around. There was no one on the street at that hour, just her and that man in danger. Without hesitating, the girl dropped her sack of cans and ran to the police station 3 blocks away. Her little legs pumped as fast as they could. "Sheriff! Sheriff!" she screamed, banging on the station door with all her might. Sheriff Thompson, a man in his 50s with a protruding belly and a grumpy face, opened the door with irritation. When he saw the ragamuffin girl in front of him, he rolled his eyes. "What do you want, kid? It's too early for children to be on the street," he grumbled, crossing his arms. "There's a man stuck on the bridge. He's screaming, asking for help," Lily said, breathless and frantic. The sheriff gave a sarcastic laugh. "Girl, you probably saw some drunk sleeping it off. Go play with your dolls and stop making up stories." "It's not a lie. I saw him. He's tied up with chains," Lily insisted, tugging on the sheriff's sleeve. "Get out of here, kid. I don't have time to waste on a child's imagination," Thompson said, pushing the girl out and slamming the door in her face. Lily stood there for a few seconds, feeling tears burn her eyes. But soon, anger took over. It wasn't the first time an adult didn't believe her because she was a child and lived on the streets. But this time was different. A life was in danger. With determination, she ran back to the bridge. The man was still there, now weaker, barely having the strength to scream. Lily looked around and grabbed a large rock she could manage to carry. She knew she had to be smart. The girl climbed onto the bridge structure carefully, using the agility of a child who always played on the roofs and walls of the neighborhood. When she got close to the man, she positioned the rock and started banging on the chain, binding his right wrist. "Girl, be careful," the man said, surprised to see the child trying to help him. "Stay still. I'm going to get you out of there," Lily replied, focused on her goal. After several blows, the chain gave way. The man managed to free himself completely and climbed to the safe part of the bridge, shaking with exhaustion and shock. He looked at the small girl who had been his savior and felt his eyes fill with tears. "What is your name, little one?" he asked, kneeling to be at her eye level. "Lily. And you, sir?" "James Sterling. I own the Sterling Confectionery here in town." He paused for a moment, still processing what had happened. "You saved my life." Lily shrugged, as if it were normal. "Grandma Grace always said we have to help those in need." James noticed the girl spoke of her grandmother in the past tense and got curious. "Where is your grandma now?" "She went away 3 months ago. Now I live with Mrs. Higgins, but she's always sick," Lily replied, fiddling with the hem of her tattered dress. James's heart tightened. That brave girl who had risked her own life to save him was practically alone in the world. He silently promised himself he would find a way to help her, just as she had helped him. "Lily, I'm going to reward you for what you did today, but first I need to find out who did this to me," he said, looking at the chains on the ground. "Who would want to hurt you, sir?" the girl asked, genuinely curious. James sighed heavily. He had his suspicions, but didn't want to believe someone from his own family would be capable of something so cruel. "I don't know yet, little one, but I'll find out." As they walked together toward the town center, James observed the girl beside him. Lily had an impressive inner strength for someone so young, but he could see the tiredness in her eyes, the weight of responsibilities a child shouldn't carry. When they arrived at Mrs. Higgins' house, a simple brick building, James met the elderly lady who cared for Lily. Mrs. Higgins, 68, was thin and frail, with completely white hair tied in a bun. She received James with suspicion. "What does a rich man want with our Lily?" she asked, shielding the girl with her arm. James told the whole story, from the moment he woke up chained on the bridge to the heroic rescue by Lily. Mrs. Higgins listened to everything in silence, her eyes filling with pride when she looked at the girl. "This girl has a heart bigger than her body," she said, stroking Lily's hair. "Since she was little, she always wanted to help everyone." "I want to repay what she did for me," James said. "Can I help you in any way? She could go to a private school, have new clothes, food always on the table." Mrs. Higgins sighed, revealing worries she had kept for a long time. "It's not a lack of will, Mr. Sterling. We already tried to enroll her in the public school, but the girl won't stay inside the classroom. She's afraid of enclosed spaces since she got locked in Grandma Grace's basement. It was hours before anyone heard her crying." James realized the situation was more complex than he imagined. That brave girl carried deep traumas, and helping her would require more than just money. It would require understanding, patience, and care. "We will find a solution," he promised. "Lily saved me today, and now it's my turn to save her." What James didn't know was that his own life was about to crumble, and soon it would be Lily who would need to save him once again. James spent the next 3 days trying to discover who had tried to kill him on the bridge. His first suspicion fell on Victor, his younger brother, who had been managing the factory for 2 years. The two never had a close relationship, especially after James inherited full control of the business when their father died. Victor, 49, always showed resentment for being left only as an administrator while James held ownership. He was a man of average height, with a well-trimmed mustache and small eyes that rarely showed genuine emotion. He had a habit of smiling only with his lips, never his eyes. "Victor, I need to talk to you," James said, entering the factory office on a Monday morning. "Sure, brother. About what?" Victor replied, not looking up from the papers on the desk. "About what happened to me on the Iron Bridge. Someone tried to kill me." Victor finally looked up, feigning surprise. "What do you mean? What is this story?" "I woke up chained to the bridge hanging over the river. If a girl hadn't found me, I'd be dead right now." "James, that sounds like a delusion. Are you sure it wasn't some nightmare?" "You've been very stressed lately," Victor said, his voice laden with fake concern. James studied his brother's face, looking for signs of lying. "It wasn't a nightmare. I have the marks from the chains on my wrists to prove it." "Maybe you should see a doctor." "These episodes of mental confusion can be serious," Victor suggested, planting a seed he would use later. Meanwhile, Lily continued her routine of collecting cans, but now she had a new goal. Every day after work, she visited James at his house, a two-story building in the finest neighborhood of Oak Creek. The house had a well-kept garden and antique wooden furniture, very different from the simple environment where she lived with Mrs. Higgins. "Mr. Sterling, I found another can today," she said, proudly showing her discovery. "Lily, you don't need to work collecting cans anymore. I can give Mrs. Higgins money to buy everything you need," James offered. "Grandma Grace always said work dignifies a person. I don't want free money," the girl replied, crossing her little arms stubbornly. James smiled. The determination of that child impressed him constantly. "Then how about we work together? You help me at the factory and I pay you a fair wage." Lily's eyes sparkled. "Can I really?" "Yes, you can, but first, let's solve this school issue." The following week, James accompanied Lily and Mrs. Higgins to St. Joseph's Elementary. The principal, a stern woman named Mrs. Myers, received the trio with skepticism. "Mr. Sterling, we've already tried to enroll Lily twice. She simply cannot remain in the classroom. She screams, cries, and tries to break the door down to get out. I understand she has difficulties, but we need to find a solution," James insisted. "I cannot risk the well-being of the other children. She causes too much disruption." Lily, who had been quiet until then, hid behind Mrs. Higgins when the principal spoke about the closed room. Her hands started to tremble and she murmured, "I don't want to be trapped again." James understood that forcing the situation would only worsen the girl's trauma. "Is there any alternative way? Outdoor classes? A special schedule?" "We don't have the structure for special cases," the principal replied, ending the conversation. Back at Mrs. Higgins's house, the elderly woman revealed more details about Lily's past that explained her difficulties. "Grandma Grace wasn't really the girl's mother," Mrs. Higgins confessed, serving coffee in chipped cups. "She found Lily abandoned when the child was only 6 months old." "Abandoned?" James asked, surprised. "On the church steps in a basket with a little note asking to take good care of her. Grace was going through a hard time in life. She had lost her husband a short while before and said God had sent that child to give meaning to her life again." "And the phobia of enclosed places?" Mrs. Higgins sighed heavily. "Grace had a habit of keeping preserves in the house basement. One day, Lily went down playing and the door jammed. The girl was trapped there for almost 6 hours in the dark until I heard the screams and we managed to break the door down. She was never the same after that." "And you? What is your relationship with them?" James asked. "I raised Grace too, found her abandoned 40 years ago, in the same circumstances. It seems this family is made of souls that find each other when they need it most," Mrs. Higgins said, with tears in her eyes. James was deeply touched. Mrs. Higgins had dedicated her entire life caring for abandoned children, and now she was sick and in need of care. "Mrs. Higgins, I can pay for the best medical treatment for you. I've already booked an appointment with Dr. Roberts, the most respected nephrologist in the region. You don't need to bother, Mr. Sterling. I'm already old anyway." "You are not old. You are sick, and sickness we treat," he insisted. A week later, tests confirmed Mrs. Higgins had chronic kidney failure and would need dialysis 3 times a week. The treatment would cost a fortune, but James didn't hesitate to cover all expenses. It was when he approached Victor to discuss the extra expenses that he discovered the first clue about his attempted murder. "James, we can't bankroll medical treatment for every person who shows up on the street," Victor said, agitated. "The factory isn't doing well financially." "How is it not doing well? The reports show constant profit." "The reports might be outdated. We had some problems with suppliers recently." James decided to investigate the company finances personally. When he arrived at the office the next dawn, he found Victor going through papers and burning documents in a trash can. "What the hell are you doing?" James shouted. "Cleaning old files, just organizing," Victor replied, nervous. "Organizing or destroying evidence." The two brothers stared at each other in tense silence. It was then that James noticed an envelope on the floor with the logo of Caldwell Sweets, the main competitor from Fairview. "What is this envelope doing here?" James asked, picking up the paper. "It must have fallen from the junk mail," Victor lied. James opened the envelope and found a check for a huge amount made out to Victor with the description, "Payment for exclusive recipes." "You sold our recipes to the competition?" James's voice trembled with rage. "I can explain." "You sold our family's secrets!" James yelled, completely losing control. Victor realized he had been discovered, and his expression changed completely. The fake smile disappeared, revealing coldness and rancor. "And I'd do it again," he said with an icy voice. "For years you think you own everything, while I do the dirty work. The time has come for you to know what it's like to lose everything. It was you who tried to kill me on the bridge. I tried to simulate your disappearance. With you out of the way, I would legally take over the factory. I didn't count on a street brat showing up to ruin my plans." The confession hit James like a punch to the stomach. His own brother had tried to murder him out of greed and envy. But Victor wasn't finished. "Now that you know everything, I'll use another plan. I've already spread around town that you had a mental breakdown on the bridge. With the right doctors and a few witnesses, I can prove you're crazy and incapable of running the company." James left that office, knowing his life was in ruins. Victor had destroyed the factory's reputation by selling recipes, stolen money, and now planned to destroy his sanity. And the worst part, people in town were already starting to believe the version that he was crazy. In the following weeks, Victor's plan began to take effect in a devastating way. The news that James Sterling had had a mental episode spread through the town like wildfire. Malicious comments echoed through the markets, bars, and conversation circles of Oak Creek. "I heard James went completely mad," murmured Mrs. Gable at the butcher shop. "They say he was talking to himself on the bridge, making up stories about kidnapping." "I always thought he was a bit strange," agreed Mr. Ben, shaking his head. "Too rich to be normal." The first blow came when the sugar and milk suppliers started cancelling contracts. James received a call from Mr. Evans from the dairy cooperative on a rainy Tuesday. "James, I need to cancel our agreement," Mr. Evans said bluntly. "Cancel. But we are up to date with all payments." "It's not about money, son. My partners are worried about your mental condition. I can't risk the cooperative's business." James tried to argue, to explain he was perfectly sane, but the call was ended before he could defend himself. Next came the cancellations from the shipping company, the packaging firm, and even the gas supplier for the ovens. At the factory, the situation got even worse. Victor had convinced 3 of the 5 oldest employees to resign, claiming they didn't feel safe working with someone mentally unstable. Only Mrs. Potts, the 60-year-old cook, and Joe, the handyman, remained loyal to James. "Mr. Sterling, I've known you for 15 years, said Mrs. Potts, wiping her hands on her apron. "I know you're not crazy. There's something wrong with this whole story." "Thank you for believing in me, Mrs. Potts. But I don't know what else to do." Lily noticed James's growing sadness during her daily visits. She always arrived in the late afternoon, after a whole day collecting cans, and found the man who had become her protector increasingly downcast and hopeless. "Mr. Sterling, why are you always sad now?" she asked on a Thursday, sitting in his garden. "I'm having some trouble at work, little one. Nothing you need to worry about." "Grandma Grace said when we share problems, they get lighter," Lily insisted, with the simple wisdom only children possess. James looked at that 4-year-old girl who had saved his life and felt a wave of tenderness. He decided to tell the truth, adapting the language so she could understand. "Remember the bad man who tied me to the bridge? He is spreading lies about me around town, saying I'm crazy. Because of that, people don't want to buy my sweets anymore." Lily frowned, processing the information. "But you're not crazy. You're the smartest man I know." "Thank you for saying that. But sometimes people believe lies without looking for the truth." "Then we need to show them the truth," Lily declared, with the determination James already knew well. That night, Lily had an idea. If James couldn't sell his sweets at the factory, maybe he could sell them another way. The next day, she approached James with a proposal that surprised him. "Mr. Sterling, can you make sweets in your house?" "Yes, I can. I have some equipment here." "Why?" "Because I'm going to help you sell them on the street. I know everyone in town. They trust me." James was touched by the girl's intention, but hesitated. "Lily, you're too young for this, and I can't let you work to solve my problems." "It's not work, it's help. Like you helped me and helped Mrs. Higgins," she replied, crossing her arms stubbornly. In the following days, James started producing small batches of sweets in his kitchen: truffles, coconut kisses, custards, and fudge. Lily carried them on a small tray through the streets of Oak Creek, offering them to acquaintances with her captivating and honest manner. "Try Mr. Sterling's sweets," she would say, approaching people at the town market. "He made them with lots of love, and they are delicious." To everyone's surprise, the sweets were an immediate success. People who knew Lily trusted her and tried the products. The exceptional taste spoke for itself, and soon she was selling the entire daily production. "Mrs. Mary, would you like more coconut kisses?" Lily offered to the lady selling vegetables at the fair. "Girl, these sweets are the best I've ever tasted. Mr. Sterling has blessed hands." The news of the superior quality homemade sweets began to spread through the town positively. People commented on the unique flavors and perfect texture, not knowing they were made by the same man they were accusing of madness. But Victor soon realized what was happening and decided to intensify his attacks. He spread rumors that James was using expired ingredients and that the sweets could be harmful to health. "Be careful with those sweets that girl is selling," he said to a group of women at church. "James isn't in a mental condition to cook. They might be contaminated." The rumor reached Lily's ears through Mrs. Appleby, one of the regular customers. "Honey, there are people saying Mr. Sterling's sweets aren't safe," she said, worried. Lily was indignant. "That's a lie. I see him making the sweets. He washes his hands, uses fresh ingredients, and keeps everything clean." "I believe you, dear, but a lot of people are scared." That night, Lily told Mrs. Higgins about the rumors. The elderly woman, who was weaker due to the dialysis treatments, was outraged by the injustice. "That Victor has no shame," she grumbled, lying in her bed, "attacking a good man just out of greed." "Mrs. Higgins, how can we prove Mr. Sterling isn't crazy?" Mrs. Higgins thought for a moment. "Girl, in my dresser drawer there is a yellow envelope. Can you get it for me?" Lily brought the envelope, and Mrs. Higgins took out some old papers. "These documents prove I've known his family for a long time. There is important information about Mr. Sterling in them." "What kind of information?" "Mr. Sterling isn't from Oak Creek. He came here 20 years ago, running from a family problem in Fairview. His father chose him to inherit the business because Victor was involved with gambling and debts." This revelation explained a lot about Victor's resentment. James had been chosen not just for being older, but for showing responsibility and character, while the younger brother had wasted opportunities with vices. "We have to tell him this," Lily said. "Not yet, girl. First, we need more proof. Victor is dangerous when he feels cornered." Meanwhile, James's situation was deteriorating rapidly. Without the factory contracts, and with only the income from the sweets sold by Lily, he was spending all his savings to pay for Mrs. Higgins's treatment and maintain both houses. One morning, he received a visit from Mr. Banks, the local bank manager. "James, I need to speak with you about your account." "What about my account?" "And Victor was here yesterday. He presented medical documents indicating you have mental problems and asked to assume administration of your assets." James's heart plummeted. "What documents?" "A report signed by Dr. Richard Stone, a psychiatrist from Fairview. According to the document, you suffer from psychotic episodes and don't have the capacity to manage your estate." "But that's false. I've never consulted that doctor in my life. James, I've known you for years and never doubted your sanity, but legally, if this report is valid, the bank may be forced to transfer control of your account to your brother." In that moment, James understood Victor had prepared a perfect trap. First, he tried to kill him on the bridge. When that failed, he destroyed his reputation in town. Now, he was using forged documents to take legal control of his assets. "How much time do I have to contest this?" he asked, desperate. "1 week. After that, if there is no formal contestation with medical documents proving your sanity, the bank will have to accept Victor's guardianship." James left the bank knowing he was being slowly destroyed by his own brother. But what he didn't know was that Lily had witnessed this entire conversation, hiding behind a tree outside, and that the determined girl was about to take action that would change everything. Lily ran home with her heart pounding after hearing the conversation at the bank. She found Mrs. Higgins resting in the living room armchair, still weak from the morning treatment, but with alert eyes when she saw the girl's agitation. "Mrs. Higgins, they're going to steal everything from Mr. Sterling," Lily exclaimed, unable to hold back tears. "Calm down, girl. Tell me exactly what happened." Lily recounted every word she had heard between James and the bank manager. Mrs. Higgins went pale when she heard about the forged medical documents. "That Victor has crossed the line," she murmured, resting her head in her hands. "We need to do something, but I don't know what. Who is going to believe a sick old woman and a street child?" "There has to be someone who can help us," Lily insisted. "Mr. Sterling is a good person. There are people who know that." Mrs. Higgins thought for a long moment. "Girl, do you remember Arthur Pennyworth, that tall gentleman with glasses who always buys your sweets in the square? The grandpa who tells funny stories, I remember. He worked at James's factory for over 20 years. He was the accountant there until 2 years ago, when Victor fired him without explanation." Lily's eyes lit up. "Do you think he can help us?" "If anyone knows Victor's schemes, it's Arthur. He was always an honest and observant man." The next day, Lily sought out Arthur Pennyworth in the central square, where he used to sit to read the newspaper under the centennial fig tree. At 71, Arthur was a thin man with totally white hair and gold-rimmed glasses. He had a reputation for being very intelligent and discreet. "Mr. Pennyworth, can I talk to you?" Lily asked, approaching timidly. "Of course, child. Did you bring sweets today?" "I did, but I wanted to talk about something else. It's about Mr. Sterling." Arthur's face darkened. "James Sterling? I heard he's been acting a bit strange lately." "That's a lie. He's not crazy. Victor is spreading that story because he wants to steal his factory." Arthur studied the girl's sincere face. During his years as an accountant, he had developed the skill to distinguish truth from lies, and that child was clearly telling the truth. "Why do you think Victor is lying?" Lily told the whole story, from the rescue on the bridge to the conversation she had overheard at the bank. Arthur listened in silence, asking specific questions and observing every detail. "Child, are you absolutely sure of everything you're telling me?" "I am, Mr. Pennyworth. Do you believe me?" The old accountant sighed deeply. "I do, and I'll tell you why." Arthur looked around to make sure no one was listening, then leaned toward Lily. "I was fired from the factory because I discovered Victor was embezzling money. I found fake invoices, payments to companies that didn't exist, and worse, He was selling the Sterling family's secret recipes to competitors in Fairview. Do you have proof of that? I have all the copies kept in my house. When I discovered the scheme, I took photographs of all the documents before he could destroy them. I was waiting for the right opportunity to report it, but he fired me before I could act. Lily felt a wave of hope. So we can save Mr. Sterling. We can try, but it will be dangerous. Victor isn't a man to play with. He already tried to kill his own brother once. That afternoon, Arthur accompanied Lily to Mrs. Higgins' house to show the evidence. The three gathered in the small living room, and the accountant opened a folder full of photographed documents. "Look at this," he said, spreading the photos on the table. "Here is a payment of $50,000 to a company called Midland Distributors Ltd. Except that company doesn't exist. The money went straight to a personal account of Victor's." "And this here?" asked Mrs. Higgins, pointing to another document. "Contract for the sale of the coconut treat and special truffle recipes. Victor sold the secrets to Caldwell Sweets for $200,000. Lily looked at the papers without fully understanding the numbers, but she understood the gravity of the situation. "With these proofs, Mr. Sterling can prove he's not crazy, right?" "He can, child. But we have a problem. These documents alone don't prove James is sane. We need to find out who this doctor is that signed the fake report." "Dr. Richard Stone from Fairview," Lily said, remembering the name she had heard at the bank. "I know that name," Arthur murmured. "He lost his medical license 3 years ago for signing fake reports in exchange for money. If he signed James's report, it's one more proof that everything is a setup." For the next 2 days, the trio worked together to organize all the evidence. Mrs. Higgins, even debilitated by treatments, helped organize the documents in chronological order. Lily continued selling James's sweets, but now she also watched Victor's movements around town. It was during one of her rounds that she witnessed something that would change everything. Victor was talking at Tony's bar with an unknown, well-dressed man she had never seen in Oak Creek. "The deal is almost closed," Victor was saying, drinking whiskey. "In 2 days I take control of everything. My brother will spend the rest of his life committed in a psychiatric clinic, and the factory will be ours." "Are you sure he won't be able to contest?" asked the stranger. "Impossible. The judge who will analyze the case is a friend of Dr. Stone. Everything is arranged." Lily hid behind a lamppost, shaking with anger as she heard the conversation. Victor not only wanted to steal his brother's assets, but planned to forcibly institutionalize him in a psychiatric institution. She ran home and told everything to Mrs. Higgins and Arthur. The accountant was furious. That man is a monster. Not satisfied with stealing, he wants to completely destroy his brother's life. "What are we going to do?" Lily asked, desperate. "We're going to the farmer's market in the square tomorrow," Mrs. Higgins said, with a determination that surprised the other two. "It's Saturday. There will be a lot of people. It's our chance to expose the truth publicly." "Mrs. Higgins, you are too weak for that," Arthur protested. "I'm weak in body but strong in soul. That girl saved my life and James's life. Now it's my turn to save you." The next day, the Central Square market was bustling as always on Saturdays. Lily set up her sweet stall in a strategic spot, right in the center, where everyone could see and hear. Arthur was positioned nearby, with all the documents organized in a folder. Mrs. Higgins, although frail, was sitting in a chair next to the stall. When Victor appeared in the square, accompanied by the same strange man from the night before, Lily gave the agreed signal. "Everyone, I want to say something important," she shouted, climbing onto a box to be taller. The people at the market started to gather, curious. Victor noticed the commotion and headed quickly toward the stall, but it was too late. "You all know Mr. Sterling, who makes the tastiest sweets in the region," Lily continued, her clear voice echoing through the square. "But there are people spreading lies about him, saying he is crazy." "Girl, girl, get down from there! You don't understand adult matters!" Victor shouted, trying to approach. "I do understand," Lily replied, holding a paper in her hands. "I understand that this man here tried to kill his own brother, stole money from the factory, and now wants to steal everything that isn't his." The crowd murmured, surprised. Victor went pale but tried to maintain composure. "This girl is repeating stories she heard from adults. James is sick and needs treatment." It was then that Arthur stood up, holding the folder with the evidence. "I worked for 20 years at Sterling Factory," he said with a firm voice, "and I can prove that Victor Sterling is a thief and a liar." The accountant began showing the documents to the people, explaining every fraud discovered. The crowd was indignant to learn the extent of Victor's crimes. "Those are forgeries," Victor screamed, desperate. "Then explain this," Lily said, showing a paper she had found on the floor the night before. "I saw you talking at Tony's bar. This paper fell from your pocket." It was a handwritten note with the names of Dr. Richard Stone and the corrupt judge, along with cash amounts next to each name, the definitive proof of the conspiracy. The crowd turned against Victor, who realized he was completely cornered. In panic, he tried to flee the square, but people surrounded him. At that moment, James arrived, attracted by the tumult, and saw the whole truth being revealed publicly. Little Lily had achieved the impossible, exposing the conspiracy and saving the man who had become her family. If you liked this video, please subscribe to my channel. I promise to bring videos every day that will make your life happier. Comment what you thought of my story, giving it a score from 0 to 10. And thank you very much.